Chapter 29. Blindness and Knowledge. John chapter 9, verses 35 to 41. Jesus heard that they had cast him out, and when he had found him, he said unto him, Dost thou believe in the Son of God? He answered and said, Who is he, Lord, that I might believe in him? And Jesus said unto him, Thou hast both seen him, and it is he that talketh with thee. And he said, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. And Jesus said, For judgment I am come into this world, that they which see not might see, and that they which see might be made blind. And some of the Pharisees which were with him heard these words, and said unto him, Are we blind also? Jesus said unto them, If ye were blind, ye should have no sin. But now ye say, We see. Therefore your sin remaineth. John chapter 9, verses 35 to 41. The man born blind was excommunicated. That term has lost much of its meaning in our time, except in a few religious communities, but it once meant total separation from one's family and community. In its Hebrew and Jewish forms, Harun was once a living death because all ties were severed, as it is still the case with some churches. The healed man was thus sentenced to something none of the disciples experienced, because a miracle of his healing testified so powerfully concerning Jesus. Jesus sought the man out, even as others were avoiding him, to ask him, Dost thou believe in the Son of God? Verse 35. The man's answer was simply this, Who is he, Lord, that I might believe in him? Verse 36. His question indicates an eagerness to know and believe in the Son of God. He asked the question of Jesus because he obviously believes that Jesus can give him the answer. Jesus then identified himself as the Son of God. Verse 37. The man answered, Lord, I believe. And he worshipped him. Verse 38. He saw Jesus as God incarnate, and so he worshipped him, which was, at the time, an act of prostration. David well described the character of God in Psalm 27, verse 10. When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. It is quite likely that the healed man's parents, already fearful, may have observed the excommunication and severed their son from his home. Our Lord's approach to him was to give him a new family. Although we hear no more of him, this does not mean he went uncared for or neglected. Then Jesus made a devastating statement. For judgment I am come into this world. According to Plummer, the word translated as judgment signifies not the act of judging, verses 22, 24, 27, and 30, but its result, a sentence or decision. Matthew chapter 7, verse 2, Mark chapter 12, verse 40, Romans chapter 2, verses 2 and 3, etc. He had come to save men, but judgment resulted for those who rejected him. They passed sentence on themselves. To tell the truth is to expose a lie. Christ's presence was a judgment on all his enemies. For this reason, Jesus Christ is still hated, because, in all his word and works, he is a continuing judgment on the ungodly. By his coming, they which see not might see. Religious leaders believed then and now that wisdom and vision belonged to them, and they despised the simple believers of whom our Lord said, I thank thee, O Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because thou hast hid these things from the wise and prudent, and hast revealed them unto babes. Matthew chapter 11, verse 25. Wisdom and vision do not belong to high office, nor do they mark the high and the mighty of the world. The men in charge of guiding others are often blinded by their unbelief. God's goal is that they which see might be made blind. Verse 39. St. Paul states this same fact in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 18 to 31. God will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and will bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Verse 19. The religious leaders believed that their program of excommunication and persecution would destroy Jesus. Instead, they destroyed themselves and the entire nation. Verse 40 is interesting because it confirms what is repeatedly seen in the Gospels. Many Pharisees followed Jesus out of interest, sometimes out of dawning belief, and at other times as spies. We know from Acts chapter 6 verse 7 that many priests became Christians. Some of these Pharisees, critical ones, took exception to his words, saying, "Are we blind also?" Verse 40. One of the distressing aspects of the Gospels is that we see so many peoples, disciples and enemies alike, questioning and challenging our Lord's words. We do the same by our disobedience. Sometimes the comments were intended as corrections, as though this miracle worker would go astray without their guidance. We have an example of this in Matthew chapter 16, verses 21 to 28, where Peter seeks to correct Jesus when he speaks to the disciples about his coming death. Our Lord's answer to these Pharisees was blunt. "If ye were blind, ye should have no sin. But now ye say, We see. Therefore your sin remaineth." Verse 41. If you had any awareness of your spiritual blindness, of your sin, you would be on the road to salvation, to freedom from sin. Very much to the contrary, you feel confident that your vision is sound, that religiously you are the wise ones, and therefore your sin remains basic to your being. The fact stated by our Lord is one which is still basic to theology and philosophy. Men try to make knowing an intellectual and rational matter, whereas it involves man in all his being and is founded on his religious and moral nature. Original sin is man's will to be his own God and lawmaker. Sin governs man's being totally, and it orders what he knows and why he knows it. The subject of how we know is called epistemology in philosophy, and the perspective is, apart from the school of Calvin and Van Til, man-centered. Too many churchmen are man-centered in their epistemology. Such epistemologies begin with man's reason, man's experience, or some aspect of man's capabilities. As against this, our Lord here tells us that there can be no other foundation for knowledge other than himself, that any other premise leads to compromise or falsification of knowledge. Our Lord here is emphatically clear that there can be no foundation other than himself. He declares, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me." John chapter 14, verse 6. We cannot come to the Father, nor to a knowledge of his creation, apart from him. All non-Christian knowledge is borrowed knowledge. If creation is not the handiwork of God, then it is the product of chance, in which case knowledge is impossible. Everything is absurd. The ungodly gain limited knowledge by denying chance in practice while affirming it in theory. Our Lord here contrasts the clear knowledge of an unlettered man born blind with the spiritual blindness of the highly literate men who rejected him. He called the leaders blind men, and such blindness still governs too much of the world.